FunPop.
And hello, everybody. This is FunPop episode number, I think, 18. Appreciate all of you people being here. Fun show this week. Like always, we are going to be deep diving, spoiler fest time, no holding back, talking about Black Widow and also Loki, because we had the complete season is finally out there. So thanks for tuning in to FunPop, guys. I want to give a shout out to the chat. You guys are awesome for being here nice and early. And we also have a very special guest here as well. He's been here before. He's also a fellow 4GQTVer. And he loves this stuff about as much as we do, if not more, you know. And yeah, we'll see, maybe. And his name is Midway Monster. What's going on, Midway? How's it going, dude?
Hey guys, how you doing? Yeah, really, I'm always interested in this stuff. It's always fun stuff to talk about. You know, it's a good escape from the real world when you can see all the characters that you're interested in. And I, for one, definitely love Tom Hiddleston's version of Loki. So
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely excited to get into this. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I think it's your third time on this show with us.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely awesome. And I shout out to Boogie in the chat, KhAos, Spooky, Reign of the Third Eye. Hey guys, we have a new show coming on Saturday. And this is like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen on this show. We're still piecing it together, figuring stuff out. But there will be shenanigans, there will be laughter, I guarantee you that. And the new show is going to be the Mav and Fancy show. We couldn't think of a name like to really encompass what this is going to be, so we just rolled with that, and I think it does encompass a lot of what it's gonna be like. We'll end up having some guests and stuff, man. It's gonna be fun.
You should call it the Mav and Fancy Variety Hour.
Variety Hour. That would be maybe, you know, that would probably be fitting as well. 3-Bit is not here right now because he is attending to some personal stuff. He could potentially be joining at some point during the show. If not, then so be it. We are still missing 3-Bit. 3-Bit, we love you if you're listening to this, and hope everything's good right now. I see AssassinLupa, Chris Jones. I see First in My Heart, my wife Kaitlin. Hey guys, we got awesome stuff to talk about. I've been to be honest with you, this may be the most excited I've been for an episode of FunPop. Just because Marvel is back at the movies. And not only that, but Marvel is also getting nominated for awards right now, which is kind of unique for like legitimate TV show type awards. And also, we had a season finale of a show, right? So that is one of those shows that could be potentially in the future getting awards. I'm not sure if it was nominated yet because I think that one may miss the time like cut off, but I don't know what we start with first, man. I guess we could start with Loki because I know Midway has seen that. And wow. Okay, so guys, forewarning in the chat, like it says it clear as day on the thumbnail. Spoiler alert, caution, okay? Because this shit's crazy and we can't hold back from talking. Midway, what were your thoughts on Loki?
First, I'm making sure that our viewers don't drop. Spoilers all got to get out, you know.
Yeah.
So, but no, Loki, yeah, it's pretty fresh in my mind. I watched the first 3 episodes a few weeks ago, and then when you brought up what was going to happen this episode, I just watched the last three, so I mean it's pretty fresh in my mind. Um, very pretty, you know, it's you can see almost like a character change because you know, like in the movies, and obviously, like if you go back to Endgame, no, I'm sorry, Infinity War, um, when Loki got killed, um, like you can kind of see how selfless he kind of was in Infinity War, and you're kind of like looking at it like that's an interesting turn, you know, because they don't really explain anything about it. But then, you know, with this happening, um, and how he was with Sylvie,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it was definitely a character arc that I kind of wasn't really expecting, which was kind of a nice surprise, because you know he is that you know that the god of mischief and anti-hero type and stuff like that. So he's, you know, self-preserving and all that stuff. So it's kind of interesting that he was kind of more self-sacrificing at that point.
Yeah. Did you see at the end? I mean, he jumped in front of her blade, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
like
mean, he gave himself up, dude. That's like, I mean, that's it. Like you said, that's like completely. Okay, he could have easily gotten his head cut off right there,
oh
right?
yeah, I mean, and what, Loki doing that? Like really?
Yeah,
Seriously?
Yeah.
The last time he died, it was a joke, you know, like
yeah.
like you know in what was it? Was I'm sorry, they kind of bleed. It was it which Thor movie was it? Was it
It was a Dark
uh
World. It
Dark
was
World.
Dark World, where
yeah.
right, and then
Is
he portrayed it in the little Asgard
mm-hmm.
play when he
Yeah,
pretended to be the king.
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, it was yeah. Um, what else did you want me to talk about there, man? I
No,
was
I mean
surprised by
you're
the
making
Loki's
some
arc.
great thoughts here because like overall this the portrayal of the character like and I think this happened because you know we're getting this Loki that we're seeing right is actually from right after the events of New York, right? When he got
Right,
captured by the Avengers, he was being escorted off. Then the whole thing happened where the Avengers came back to take the Tesseract. The Hulk knocked it out of the hands of the whoever was holding it and it dropped out of the suitcase. Loki goes down, picks it up. So this is not the same Loki that had or this is a before version of the same Loki, but it's not. He hasn't gone through all those life experiences that the one from Endgame, not Endgame, Infinity War, when he gave up his life, right? So this is before
right.
all that. Now, what triggered him to change was his time with uh, what's his name? What's Owen Wilson's name? Morbius, Mobius,
Oh
Morbius.
yeah, yeah.
Morbius. I don't know.
Mobius,
Mobius.
Mobius.
Okay.
Morbius. Mobius.
Yeah, so his time with Mobius and Owen Wilson kind of like gained him a conscience by showing him like how flawed his character was, and then also when Loki went and escaped back into the chamber and he viewed his own future, right, to him for himself, and he saw everything. He saw his own death. He saw everything that it led up to. He saw his mother, you know. He saw all of the pain that he caused, and he realized, okay, this is like all my future is. And it was like that moment right then, even though he still wanted to get to the timekeepers and everything at that point, at that moment then it's like it kind of started sinking in. And then another point is when Owen Wilson set him up in the like the time loop of the with the girl that kept kicking him in the nuts, right?
Yeah,
And it was just like it just really sunk in like how messed up of a person he was that people actually are starting to treat him like that, right? So he definitely is a changed character, and when he was back on that planet with all of those other Lokis, he was the one that stood out separate from the rest, right? Him and also the old Loki that had all those life experiences, right? So it was like he had like gained so much experience from Owen Wilson and that time they had, right? That it did completely change the
Alligator
character.
Loki.
And Alligator Loki, yeah.
That was weird, but
Yeah,
no.
but will this stick? Like, is he? I mean, it seems like he's changed. Like, he is like a full-fledged potential good guy now.
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know if Psychonauts wants to put something in on this.
Yeah, like you can see. So with Loki, as each episode went on, you can see the character development change as he's realizing that um his actions has consequences. So he definitely has changed, and with that ending, holy crap, he totally freaking has done things like are anti-Loki, if you want to put it that way, because it's like you didn't think jumping in front of that blade and like rationalizing, hey, let's look at what's going on here. If he's lying, then it's no big deal, but if he's telling the truth,
we just need to
can't
think
kill him.
about it. Yeah, we have to sit here and talk about it. Is all he wanted to do, right?
And she was just blinded by murderous rage. That's all. For what reason? And we don't know her real backstory, why she had that Nexus event. They never touched on that. They never said exactly what caused her Nexus event for her to be picked from the TVA. So I'm assuming that's what we'll get in season 2, that they revealed at the end that there will be a second season.
Yeah, I remember they were in the elevator, right? And she was like, what was my Nexus event? And then Renslayer was like, I don't remember.
She smiled.
Yeah.
She smiled like, I don't give a fuck.
I know, but I'm not gonna tell you.
Yeah.
Which, she's in another time. She went through a time door, so I've heard things about where she might look for, but the one thing that, like, after she killed what was the man who, what was his title again? The man who, the actor that she ended up stabbing.
Yeah, that's Kang.
Oh,
but
the man, he's the man who's not named, or he should
something
not
like
be
that.
named.
So you noticed how she looked after she did it. Like, I don't know if she was expecting like some sort of change, or like some sort of like, because you saw
she expected a trick.
See out the what?
I think she expected another trick. Like, this was too easy. Like what's going on? Is he actually
and you
dead?
can see out the window. You can see out the window the time branch is still expanding, and
because he who remains.
Yeah.
He
who remains.
But like, first of all, like, I didn't know, because I guess either I did know and forgot, or what have you. I didn't know there was going to be a second season, because no other show had another season coming up, So the fact that they chose time is like the easiest way to escape explanation on anything. You know, like, so the fact that they're using time as the premise of this show is smart and weaselly at the same time. So by the way, I love the set pieces. I don't know if you like ever thought about it, like how it was like everything was stuck in the 1950s. Even Miss Minutes, like, she looked like she was a cartoon. She looked like she could have been on Cuphead, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But
what can I do for you, friends?
Right. So like, I'm gonna take you, like, okay, so the show ends in the credits, and I'm like, how does this tie in with because all these are like tying, well, except for Winter Soldier and Falcon and Winter Soldier were kind of not really tied in with the movies, but this one has to. It has to, because
Yeah,
unless
this
they
one
figure
is.
out, yeah, it has to because of what happened in Infinity
No,
War.
even Falcon and Winter Soldier is definitely tying in. Because if you think about it, like there's a new Captain America now.
Yeah.
Right.
So okay. So I guess to be like more clear, I think it will tie into the next phase.
Yeah, yeah. This is
Right.
gonna. This is setting up the Doctor Strange 2. This is setting up the new Spider-Man that's coming out in this December, and Loki and WandaVision or Scarlet Witch is going to be in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, and King the Conqueror, He Who Remains, is going to be in Ant-Man 3 with the
Okay.
Quantum Mania or something.
Okay.
I think it's called.
So to kind of like reiterate my point is like this is the first show that is being tied from the within the first phase, the first Marvel universe, because Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that was after
Yeah.
Endgame. WandaVision is after Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first one where they are poking someone out of the MCU during the first 3-4 phases to do a series. So it's like it's very interesting, and I'm very curious to see where they're going to go with the second season and how many seasons they could go with this.
Yeah.
Because
well, the next.
Go ahead.
Okay. To your point, like if Loki took place back after the Battle of New York, right?
Right.
And if this whole season happened within a time period right after that, right? Then at the end of this, how it ends off when reality is now different because there's a different Kang in charge with the statues. It's clearly making that known. Owen Wilson and was it Renslayer he was talking to there? I think I don't remember whoever he was talking to at the end. They didn't recognize Loki. It was the other girl, right? It was the other girl.
Yeah, it was the B-15.
B-15.
I forgot the
they didn't recognize him, so he's in a different
time zone or time.
He's in a different reality right now than he was before. So that. If that is the case, did that potentially change everything for everybody else? Like everybody else that was not part of this, right? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, it changes everything that is not already set forth in motion that's supposed to happen. It changed because it changed. He's in another time loop where now instead of the time seers, or I forget the fuck they're called, but now it's Kang. He's been honest. Like if you looked at when they finally got into the cathedral, him and Sylvie, you saw there's 4 statues at the time. So was the 4th one Kang the whole time? And they took him, and within what these episodes were, with was it who was he just removed to just show that there's 3, and then there's a 4th one that's pulling the strings the whole time. So yeah, with this event that happened, now what's going to change in the other time frames in the other movies? Like with Spider-Man, there's the rumors of possibly having the 3 Spider-Mans appearing. After last night's episode, I start looking up, like, with at least with Spider-Man and the multitude and Doctor Strange at the Multiverse of Madness, and what it showed, like with at least Spider-Man, that there's a lot of pictures with Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland together, and there's rumors that possibly Tobey Maguire being in there. Now, it makes sense from this that now the timeline in the very beginning of the freaking episode, they changed the whole intro, and went with this whole timeline and went in the beginning of time and went through this whole thing, and you saw that timeline was perfect because he was, making sure that there was no branches. And then we later found out why the TVA was invented. It was to stop other Nexus events, pretty much having other versions of King coming into the picture, because at this form in the comics, at least, he's Immortus. He's like the final boss form, if you want to call it that, like that, of King of the Conqueror, which he's lived over 1 million years. He's overseen everything. So he's like this. He went from like a tyrant to, okay, I'm just going to try to keep the peace, and that's who this person was. And because he was afraid, and like it was awesome to see how the Jonathan Winters.
The Jonathan Winters I'm thinking of is an old comedian from back in the day. I don't remember this guy's name. Help me out, chat, with the Nathaniel Richards. Is that it? No, or is that his name? That's actually his name from Earth. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, Nathaniel Richards. He's a descendant of Keith Richards. Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four.
Oh, okay.
Richards, whatever his name is.
All right, let's see here. I'm gonna look it up. King,
but
actor.
So this character, it was great to see like his emotion. Like they asked, "What are you afraid of?" And he's afraid of himself, of his other variants of who he was, because he had this whole war, the whole timeline war, the multiverse war that he calls it, and it's just really freaking. It just sets up. It just sets up so much with what they can do and how they can change things, and bringing in old characters to possibly bringing in a different Captain America and having two Captain Americas still, or whatever the case is. So it's
KhAos says Jonathan Majors. Yeah, that's his name.
Jonathan Majors. Yeah.
So this is funny though that you saying that, Psycho, right? Because we just read a quote yesterday from Kevin Feige about potentially not having as many long-term contracts with the MCU for the actors, and I was kind of like, what the, like, how are they going to have any confidence that they're going to have the actors? Well, this makes it easy. You just swap them out for another with another one from a different timeline. Hey, this is that Cap, No, I'm not saying they would actually do that, but the possibility would be there. You could actually go there with that,
Exactly.
Smart. This is why time travel is like the easiest cop out when it comes to storytelling.
Yeah, it is.
Because you can do anything and anyone anywhere, and that there's always different versions, so you don't have to have the same actor to you just got to find someone with brown hair, just for example, so I mean brown, average build and all that, just to keep them at least within the realm of possibility. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I did find I remember watching the last episode and the intro. I was just like, that's interesting, hearing all the MCU quotes and all that stuff that was going on in the thing. What did you think about that, man?
I liked the intro. It was really cool, because it just kind of it got you hyped. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh man, I remember every single one of these freaking quotes. It's just incredible. In Vision's quote even was in there from WandaVision, when he's like, what is something about love? I can't remember what it was, but it was just I remember that quote stood out. It was so good. The writers are amazing in these in these shows.
They had so many other quotes from other. It's all throughout the whole MCU of phase 1, 2, and 3. They picked the epic battles or epic moments of the entire series, and they just had it in this and overlaid it. And at the end, it was so congested that you couldn't really pick out which one. And then it went to and then you saw the timeline and where King's castle was.
Yeah, it was a cool intro. I'm just excited about the possibilities, because they're not just mixing this in. They're also added elements with WandaVision, with new possibilities, right? With reality warping and basically being able to change people into superheroes now, like with Monica Rambeau walking through the hex, right? And now all of a sudden we got another hero. So these shows have given us Sam Wilson is now Captain America. It's given us the U.S. Agent, right? It's given us another Loki that's out there, right? And Sylvie, right? It's given us Kang and whatever versions of him are going to be here in the future. It's given us White Vision, right? And all of these things are going to persist into the MCU going forward. So it's like, then we have Shang-Chi coming. We have a new Spider-Man coming. We have the Eternals coming. And I was trying to think, we had this discussion before, like Psycho and me and 3-Bit, about like, what were the Eternals doing just sitting there the whole time when Thanos was out there like getting rid of half the world, half of existence in the universe, and they're just sitting there chilling, and now all of a sudden they need to get involved? Well, maybe this is why. Maybe this is potentially the thing that makes the Eternals have to step in, right?
Yeah, because now the timeline is now disrupted, where they're seeing a freak change in everything. So, what these next movies are going to bring, like with Avengers, could we see like Dark Avengers come into play? Could we see other aspects? This definitely also ties in with Fantastic Four. So because I guess King is a descendant of Richards, is the main guy in Fantastic Four, like I said earlier. So they could bring in, that's how they can introduce Fantastic Four with Kang's backstory. When they possibly see at the end of Ant-Man 3, because that comes out, I believe, in 2023. I believe is the Ant-Man 3 is timeline.
Fact check, Mav.
It's 2023.
Is the new Ant-Man that far off? Really? Maybe.
I think
the quantum something.
Quantum Mania.
Yeah, so like, man, it's getting so crazy, dude. All of these things happening. It was so much simpler when all we had to worry about was aliens coming from the sky to invade New York. Yeah. And now it's we
just had to wait 2 years pretty much for the next movie, and now we got series popping up. We got movies popping up. You're right. It's crazy, and you're gonna need to write everything down to follow all the chronological events that are happening.
And that's not to mention the Skrulls now as well, who were also alluded to at the end of WandaVision. Right?
And like, and this is also alluded in that one picture from Marvel, where they put out with Spider-Man sitting in the sword spaceship, where that's where Nick Fury and the Skrulls are right now.
Okay, so we need to talk about something, because it's almost like there's been two things getting set up. Okay, so we have the events of WandaVision and the events of Loki, and I think those are more closely tied. And then we have the events of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we have the events of Black Widow, and it seems like those are more closely tied. Where it seems like there's two different sagas potentially happening and coinciding with each other that may converge at some point. And because with the WandaVision and Loki, you're adding like otherworldly elements. You're adding time, right? You're adding reality, right? You're adding all of these things that can be changed, right? And manipulated. And then you go into Ant-Man and stuff like that, like Psycho, you know, you go into Doctor Strange, and those are all kind of following those worlds. And then in the Captain America world, where it's everything has been more grounded, then also you have like Black Widow. You have Julia Louis-Dreyfus making her appearance at the ends of those shows, and also setting something up that is very interesting. And I think at some point all these are going to converge, right? But it's very interesting to think how. Like how are these elements all going to come together? Because in Endgame and Infinity War, they had so many different stories going on between Captain America, between Thor, between Iron Man, you know, Hulk, and somehow it all came together at the end for one big moment with Thanos, right? What is going to be that big payoff at the end of whatever saga this is going to be?
I think Secret Wars. I'm reading the plot summary right now, so pretty much.
I'm just wondering, like, so if we go to, you know, you talk about the Black Widow and all that, like, how? Because obviously, you know, in Endgame when Hawkeye and Black Widow went for the Soul Stone, you know, Black Widow dies, and then she gives I'm sorry, what was what was Julia Louis Dreyfus's? It's funny, her name is Julia Louis Dreyfus.
It starts with the V.
Yeah,
I call her
name.
I call her Elaine. Is it Valentina something?
Valentina.
Yeah, Valentina.
Yeah, but it's funny how her real name is three names, and then they give her you know, her character name 3 names as well.
It's like Valentina I don't know, it's French.
Desfontaine. The Valentina Desfontaine. Yeah.
So it's just interesting how she says, "Here's the man that killed your sister," you know.
Yeah, which is completely misleading her. So it is very misleading. And she's also,
so what's her motive?
She's also has manipulated John Walker, right? And she's using his character weaknesses against him to get him to follow what she wants, because he just wants to be special. He wants to be like a superhero. He wants to be like loved and not judged for not being as good as Captain America or whatever. He wants to be better than Captain America, right? And like she sees all that in him and is using that to get him to do whatever she wants, because that's her promise to him, is that you have this existence now. You can still be this, but you got to do it for me, right? And so she's manipulating him, and then you see at the end of Black Widow where she meets with Yelena at the grave, which is now in this current day, right? It would be like now in the timeline, right?
Right.
She's meeting with her and says, "Hey, you know, go get Hawkeye. He's responsible," which is not true at all, right? So setting up a team via manipulation, I'm curious who all else is going to be part of this team, right? Because it is formed out of what would be potential heroes that are not their counterparts, right? Yelena is not Black Widow. She's potential future Black Widow, right? Then you have U.S. Agent, who is not, he was a failed Captain America, right? So you have this team forming, and I'm curious. I think there's going to be a culmination, and my theory is this is how potentially Yelena is going to be introduced to the Avengers, by trying to take out Hawkeye, right? And then maybe she comes on board after, you know, she learns, and then who knows? Because the Black Widows have always played that double agent type thing, right?
Well, she's part of the Hydra anyways.
Yeah, Valentina in the comics and stuff supposedly is a sleeper agent for Hydra that becomes like Madam Hydra or whatever. I think at the with her highest title.
So with that being present day, she's kind of like what, trying to bring a resurgence for them, because obviously they were pretty well damaged.
Remember, Hydra was rooted out of Shield, right? And then Shield was pretty much destroyed at that point, right? So now we have Sword, right? And she's, I guess, a branch of I don't know exactly what her title is. I forget. I think she said at some point, but yeah, she's definitely playing two sides here.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like, after reading some of the Secret Wars, because I didn't read a lot of Marvel stuff, but reading into the Secret Wars, this definitely sounds like it's leading up to Secret Wars, because they introduce the Avengers, because that has She-Hulk in it, it has Fantastic Four, X-Men, it has all these superheroes, and they have for villains, they have Doctor Doom, Doc Octopus, which is rumored to be in the next Spider-Man, the Enchantress, which is and King the Conqueror, Lizard, Meow, and Ultron, which everyone's like, how are they going to introduce Ultron? So they could introduce Ultron back into this, which also introduces Galactus, which is, I'm thinking, the end game of this phases, and everyone comes together and has to fight him, because he's destroyer of all worlds. He's the most powerful of all of it. Like King the Conqueror, he's like the mid boss of all this, but he's still a badass when it's his King the Conqueror's variation. So with what Loki is setting up is definitely the footnotes of what's going to come. And I think, like what you were saying, Mav, I think they are going to have a split time frame. They're going to split, just like how the timeline is. They're going to split off with two sets of stories, and then it's going to come to a point, and then Secret Wars is that point where whatever they're going to be telling story wise is going to come together, and then that's Galactus is going to be that end game, just like.
So the only two storylines I could see with like Ultron coming back would be either the Loki season or Doctor Strange. That's the only two that I can see that happening. But there is something that I hate to bring it back, Mav, but there was something that continuity wise I kind of want to, and it's just it's a little nitpicky, but with the end of the Loki, when she kicks him back through the time door, she hasn't killed him yet. So to me that's saying that he is back at their timeline, right? Then she kills him, and then all of a sudden, like Owen Wilson and them don't remember him. Like, I'm kind of curious.
Well, because I think the timelines would have changed after she killed her. So I don't think it matters where anybody. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if it matters where anybody is. It's almost seeming like, with the way that they portrayed this, that it has the potential to have completely changed the events that may have already taken place in the timeline that we know. Because
so we wasted all those hours for nothing.
Well, if Loki, if you want to look at it that way, because it's just a different king in charge now. Yeah. And if you look at it like the timeline that we were familiar with that one timeline, right? That had been quadruple checked by the time variant, timekeepers, and all that stuff, the TVC, all that stuff, right? So they were keeping that one timeline that in check, and that's the timeline that we all watched in the Infinity Saga, right? Now, with these events, okay, seeing this happen. It happened, and Loki was in that timeline still when he jumped through the door. Okay. And after Kang got killed, and you saw all the branches form like crazy.
Right.
All of a sudden, he looks up and his surroundings are different. People don't recognize him. So he is potentially one of the only people that
knows what happened,
right? Him and the other Loki. The variants are all formed from Kang, right? And so they could have all been completely manipulated or changed or whatever. But I'm wondering if the surroundings anywhere else in the universe could potentially be changed, or if Loki, when he went back through that door, because the branches had already started a little bit, if he actually went to a different timeline. It's one of the two. It's one of the two.
I mean, there has to be a different timeline, because when they were at the TVA, all the statues and everything was the timekeepers. When he goes back,
Kang.
Before she kills him, and she puts him back into what he thinks is their timeline, Kang is now the statues.
Yeah.
So that tells me right there that he's not back to where he's originally at, where he was originally was put into. So is he in the correct timeline? Are they going to bridge out, like go off that timeline, and that, or like how are they going to set up the next these next phases up because of this?
Well, what I'm thinking is, okay, like, well, our entire when he goes back, or whenever the future movies that we could potentially see, could potentially little things be different because of this. Like when we see something, will it be different than it was before? Like could Thor be a different person, right? Could
well, now there's an infinite number of Thors now, right? I mean,
right. Well, that's the whole thing with this. There's different versions of every person, right?
So they don't need Chris Hemsworth.
Well, there's two Lokis, right? So, you could have a potentially different Thor. You could potentially have a different Captain America. You could have a different anybody. Like who knows? Like that's what I'm saying. Like when that happened, what are the ramifications on the reality of everything that we know now? Or is that the other thing is that its own branch that he's in now, and it's not part of that original main timeline? It's got to be one of the two, right? Because there's multiple Kangs out there. So maybe this is just one of those that he got put into.
Remember, right? Owen Wilson said there's 63 branches. 63 branches.
Yeah.
Of the timeline that's split off. So
yeah, that could be there's 63 Kangs out there right now, right? 63 Kangs that are gonna start fighting with each other potentially, right?
Yeah.
Who knows, man? And wouldn't it be crazy if because I don't know, that's the reach. I'm not gonna go there.
No, go. Let's hear it.
Okay,
Speculation town.
The events of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and also the events of Black Widow in timeline order, actually happened after Loki.
Right.
Right? So if this had potentially already happened, and maybe I'm just going to keep calling her Elaine. Maybe Elaine and Hydra could be in cahoots with the Kang, the new King, Kang the Conqueror. I'm going to call him, because we don't know which Kang it is, right? So let's say it's Kang the Conqueror, right? And Kang the Conqueror has orchestrated Hydra in his timeline as the tool to be to manipulate the timeline to his will, and Elaine could be like basically like the orchestration of him because he needs to get rid of the Avengers, right? And so her little poking around here and there doing little this and that are things to try and plant seeds to get rid of the Avengers. That's just a hypothetical, because the Avengers, as we know, now know how to time travel. And that was purposefully done by the original Kang, or He Who Remains, because it was not a mistake. It was not a variance when they time jumped.
He said he paved the roads, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So they were purposefully supposed to have done that, and they know how to travel through time now. And they also are aware of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Right? So if you did have another enemy out there, that would be the Avengers, right?
Yeah. Well, who is in Doctor Strange, the chick with the bald head, the
Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, Sorcerer Supreme. She talks about the timeline, that if you don't put the soul stones back exactly, you're gonna split. There are gonna be variants coming. You know, the timeline's gonna split. So they've already teased the this so it wouldn't happen. So I just see, like, now with it happening now, Doctor Strange, that whole multiverse of madness, that title really puts into perspective, like, what does he know now, and what does Loki is known that he's going to be in this movie. So is he going to go and make, listen, this is what happened, and so on and so forth. Now, is that an alternate timeline now? Because if he was not put back in his correct timeline, now he's he's going to talk to a different Doctor Strange in this movie. Is it going to be setting up something totally different with WandaVision, with Scarlet Witch as well? Could this be an alternate where Vision is not dead?
Yeah.
Or endless possibilities.
Here's one thing I know. This is why I freaking love the MCU. Because it matters. Because we're even having this discussion, right? Like, where all of this stuff impacts all these other movies, right? Like, they're all the movies, all the shows, they're all connected, right? It just adds weight and importance to a final episode of a TV show. It adds so much importance to so much more, right? Like, it's just awesome what they orchestrated, right? Like, cinema, TV show wise, and everything. And no wonder they're nominated for so many awards. 22 Emmy nominations for these TV shows on Disney Plus.
Since they never got any type of, like, really an accolade for movies. You know, like they were just another.
It was like an MTV Movie Awards type awards for those, right? Not Oscars or.
Yeah, they never got high-end stuff, and now you see these TV shows. I wonder if it's going to start changing with
that and The Mandalorian too. Like, they're putting quality-wise, the production value-wise, story-wise, like writing-wise, they're putting a lot of other shows to shame.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Like, it's in another league of TV shows, for where you see a lot of these, like, okay, the show is like, okay, more about just repeating different circumstances, and it's the same thing every episode. Like, okay, well, here, what shenanigans are they going to get into this week? And then repeat the same thing. It's like you're watching the same show a lot of times every single week for a lot of shows, right? And except it's just a different scenario, right? But with these shows, there's a progression, an actual progression of story that takes time to prepare, and you're going from first episode all the way through to the end. And then when it ends, it affects even more right? And that goes to Mandalorian too. You're affecting the whole Star Wars universe, right? And with this, you're affecting the whole MCU, right? So these shared worlds, these shared movies, TV shows, and stuff, like it's just done like so well. I do have concerns about the whole contract thing still with what Kevin Feige was saying, how they are not doing that as much. I understand it's best for the actors, right? And I understand maybe it's best for the studios as well. But there was an awesome amount of comfort knowing that we had, Chris Evans is going to be Captain America for at least this many more movies, right? Like in stuff like that. Now we don't necessarily have that because of the way they're going to be doing this stuff. But at the same
With these
point,
multiverses, what if Falcon and as the this point of existence, what if he all of a sudden goes into another branch and it's Chris Evans Captain America? What if they I mean the possibilities are endless. That's why time
oh
travel
yeah,
is such
dude, that would be crazy. Like
such a-
another Cap comes from another timeline, and it's the Hydra Cap, right?
Yep.
And one of those timelines, there's a
Hydra.
Hydra Cap, right? Like so.
well, even
it's crazy.
in Black Widow, the Red Guardian, right? He's like the Captain America of Russia.
Yeah.
Like they could, you know, I mean, there's so many things like they could bring these guys back. I mean, I love David Harbour as an actor. I thought the last Hellboy was actually pretty. I liked him as Hellboy. So even though the movie got criticized, but I mean, like there's so many characters and so many variations. And going back on what Psychonauts said about the way things are going about time travel and all that stuff, like, you know, even remember what Vision said. He said there's a causality, you know, like since the Avengers have happened, more paranormal or, you know, things attacks because it's a challenge. So what does evil, they want to get that challenge now that there's time travel. Well, now the challenge is from other timelines. Okay, these guys can time travel now. Well, let's go after these guys, you know. So I think in a way you could say Loki and Sylvie kind of spearheaded that change to where now every timeline is at risk from and now these Kangs, you know, all these 63 other Kangs possibly. So it's the possibilities are, shall I say, infinite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it definitely brings a lot. This show definitely set up so much, and we can speculate till the freaking sun comes up, because they can do whatever they want. And now, like what Matt said earlier, now hearing that, you know, they weren't doing signing up a lot of these actors for long-term contracts, could set up that they have we be introduced to different Captain Americas, and then, you know, and different variants of each character, that they don't need to have, you know, them to be long contract, and then at the end see them all come together. You know, it could be, they could just do like two picture deals, like you do your first movie and the last movie, and the last sets of movies, like that's their deal.
I will say this, like, for their biggest challenge going forward, because they're setting up so many things right now, is to keep it somewhat manageable still, right? Because there's so much going on, and then like if you do start like switching like characters a lot and stuff like that, that'd just be like, that'd be too, I think it could be too much for a lot of people, right? And you could potentially start to lose people when the story becomes less focused. I do like how, you know, we're going to get more of these individual stories again with all of these movies, so we're gonna get to see little clues and pieces about how things are going to come together. But what they did so wonderfully last time was as cosmic of a craziness as it was that this guy from outer space was going to come onto Earth with a gauntlet that he had to find 5 stones from the beginning of time, and that he needs to control everything, and then at the snap of his fingers he can wipe out half of existence, right? As crazy as that sounds, right? And the build up to it was very focused, and with each character they spent a lot of time focusing on each character to make us actually care, right? If you just potentially start throwing in all of these different characters all over the damn place and don't spend the time focusing on them individually, then you're going to potentially lose a lot of the heart of what made the MCU so special in the first place. So I hope they're keeping that. Black Widow for me was a good sign that they're still on that track, because the story in it was great, right? Like, a lot of people didn't like Black Widow for some reason because it wasn't superhero enough for them or something.
Yeah, too human, right?
Right. It was too different for them, but I loved it because it was so different than all of the other Marvel movies. That's one thing about Marvel movies, is there's all these different genres, right? And this was like Born Identity or something, like kind of
What
Bond.
what did you? I think you said this in a past episode. You said that the MCU characters are humans trying to be gods, while the DC characters gotta be humans. It's you gotta have that human element in these, or else it's unrelatable. You know, so I think Scarlett Johansson, Hawkeye, Doctor Banner, like they had to bring that human element. Obviously, Captain America and Robbie Downer Jr. They're all human pretty much. So except for Vision and give me
Thor.
someone else. But huh?
Thor.
Thor. So I mean, you got two ex
As Guardians.
no, you got 2 exceptions to the rule. That's what I was trying
Oh,
to say.
right, yeah.
So I mean the it kind of like, the first one I really didn't like was Hawkeye. I didn't like Hawkeye coming in to but again, I think as soon as I think after Civil War I started liking him. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, it's just like you got to have that human element in movies. That's why I think Loki's kind of character transformation from being selfish to selfless, and being rational and actually caring for someone, which obviously you could see bit him in the butt at the end, was kind of refreshing. But and really, I love Tom Hiddleston as an actor. He's a joy to watch. But yeah, that's, I mean, for people that think that to not like a character, I think you just gotta watch him a little more, like a little more in depth. All these characters give like little hints of everything in movies. Don't just read the lines, look at their actions.
Yeah. I think Tom Hiddleston is also a good example of somebody I wasn't familiar with before these movies, right? Before Thor, I don't think I'd ever even heard of him, right? But he did such a good job with Loki. He kind of stole the screen and stuff, and he's an amazing actor. And I have noticed, I brought this up to Psycho and 3-Bit, I think yesterday, that the casting of all the newer characters going into the MCU for the most part is like shifted, right? They're not originally, okay, Captain America, you got Chris Evans, you got Thor, Chris Hemsworth, you got freaking Don Cheadle, right? Even originally Terrence Howard, Robert Downey Jr., Scarlett Johansson. Like, these are all like big time A-list actors, right? Mark Ruffalo, Paul Rudd, right? And now you see all these like the newer castings, right? And it's like
now they're starting to sprinkle them in because
yeah.
yeah.
The guy that plays U.S. Agent John Walker, like I can't remember the name his name off the top of my head, right? Florence Pugh that plays Yelena. I'm not very familiar with stuff that she's been in.
I've never even heard of her.
The guy that's playing Shang-Chi, he's barely been in anything, right? So it's interesting they're going more for, I think, for just people that they think would fit the character. Even though before they did such a good job, there's no like argument that they didn't get great actors that fit the characters before. But there's a difference with the type of actors that they are definitely going after right now. And I don't know exactly why that is. And now there's still some, like Angelina Jolie was cast. Kamal Nanjiani was cast. But there's a lot of these other ones that that are going to be playing a role. It makes me wonder how many of these other actors are going to continue. Do we know what's going to happen with Chris Hemsworth long term? Do we know what's going to happen with Tom Holland long term, or Mark Ruffalo long term? Like I'm just really curious about that kind of stuff.
Well, with these phases coming up, I think they're trying to soften kind of like the blow of of change. I mean, we just had how many movies with the same actors from 2008 to what 2019, 2020, 12 years with the same actors and same characters, which is realistically unheard of in
Yeah.
a lot of
Mm-hmm.
movies. So I mean, I wish DC could kind of like take a page from them.
Yeah, the
But
closest thing we have to that right now is Wonder Woman, I think.
right, I think gosh, what, I mean, you got
4 movies, I think.
yeah, just look at the Batman franchise. I mean, you got 2 Michael Keatons, 1 Val Kilmer, 1 George Clooney, and then finally with 3 Christian Bales, and then I know, they're sprinkling Keaton and Ben Affleck back into the Flash movies, which is also probably going to have some time travel elements in it. But like I think what they're trying to do is, uh, like I said, soften the blow with these new actors for all these new things, but you still have, Doctor Strange, you still have, Benedict Cumberbatch, you still have um, Paul Rudd, Ant-Man, you still have all the just sprinkled in while we're trying to get to know these new characters. And so I mean, that's understandable because after 12 years of watching the same people, I'm kind of like, to get to know these new characters and stuff like that. It doesn't feel as I don't want to use the word exciting, but
Yeah.
because think of all the shows that we just watched. They've been in the from the MCU in the past, so we know all those characters. We know all those actors. So it's we'll I mean, to see their plan. When we saw the reveal trailer, like all the movies that were coming out, and obviously the big kabang with the possible Fantastic Four movie at the end. It makes you, okay, now we got to wait till the very end, which means we're gonna have to go through all these movies to get to something that's really more familiar. So especially for like general comic fans, it's like, oh, I've seen the Fantastic Four from back in the day, so that'll be fun to watch. But I got to wait through all these movies to finally get to see it if it goes in that chronological order. So I mean, I understand their plan, and it's a very smart plan. I mean, don't get me wrong. So I mean, like we'll just have to go through it and see. I mean, we'll see if maybe that's why they want to do short film deals with these actors. Maybe you know, they do that, what, like quality control, right? I mean, they look at the polls, they send out polls and all that stuff. So
Hmm.
who knows? Maybe I mean, Edward Norton changed to Mark Ruffalo. You know, I mean, so I mean, maybe the
Hey, they
after,
would be interesting if they address that somehow with this. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So it's, we'll see if you know, maybe one of the Eternals isn't as receptive to fans. Maybe they'll switch them out. You know, you never know. I mean, I hope, you know, for the sake of jobs and all that stuff, I hope they do well. But yeah, they're not ones to make a change if it's for the better. So I mean, it is Disney. So
Yeah. I'm curious from Psycho what he thought about Taskmaster.
that was interesting.
Okay. uh, the Black Widow movie was good. You know, because they they had an uphill battle because her story was pretty much known, and then where this fell had to tie in. It wasn't like the starting off from the beginning or this didn't begin at the end of something. This was right in the middle, in between events, so it was hard to tell the story. But Taskmaster, I think I was I wasn't thrilled. I wasn't.
That's okay.
It was it, at first. I was like, it was cool. I was like, okay, so is she a cyborg, or I didn't
Is
know
it?
it, she,
Yeah.
it was a she. Is it a cyborg? Is it AI? I'm like, what is? And like, they jacked in to download like coordinates and shit, and I'm like, okay, they're going with like maybe that's how it mimics moves. That kind of would make sense a little bit. And then it was revealed it was the daughter. I'm like,
Yeah, to me,
okay,
Taskmaster wasn't the real villain in this, right? It was
no,
it was the guy. So coming from somebody that wasn't as into the comics, but more into the movies and shows, it didn't bother me. Like it, but I know a lot of people that are super into the comics are like, what did they do with Taskmaster here? You know what I mean? And even I'm familiar with the character. You know what I mean? I'm familiar with the character, and it seems like a very different take on the character. So that's made me wondering: is there more to this in the future potentially? Right?
well, but now you got like all these Black Widows that are not under the guy's control. Even Taskmaster, his daughter, is
Yeah.
not under his control, and it's just like, okay, what are they gonna do now?
Yeah.
Are they gonna
Did
join
didn't
some
that feel
forces?
very didn't that feel very X-Men-y of them? You know, I felt like he had control of all of them, and I felt like it should have been like, you should have seen someone with like a little headpiece like Professor X, you know. But Taskmaster reminded me of the botched Deadpool from Ryan Reynolds' X-Men Origins. You know, like that's what
Wolverine
that.
origins.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I mean. Type in something and say kill. You know, like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
I,
like when they do like this emotionless like attacking machine. I think like Winter Soldier is an example of doing that differently, right? Because like he was still like a person that was doing those things. He just had lost control of free will. But
Yeah,
like
he was Manchurian Candidate. He was.
right, but then there's like some where they do them and it's like they're so like they don't have a soul anymore. It's like, you know, and it's kind of like the other thing that threw me off with the whole Taskmaster situation was Scarlett Johansson blowing up that building with the girl there.
yeah,
It
that was
just
Budapest.
it just seems like out of everything that we've come to know about her character, that move completely goes against it.
Well, that was all that Budapest, like they always bring up all the freaking time, and it was like, oh, okay, so this is what they've been
Yeah, but
alluding to, but it was just like a fraction of, like it was just like okay, she killed the little girl. I'm like,
well, yeah, they only showed us that one piece of Budapest, but they always talk about Budapest like, oh, they went through some shit, you know what I mean, together.
yeah,
But they didn't like. I mean, I don't think she's ever told anyone that, probably, right? Because she said the building was clear, right? So that was like a selfish move from her for her own benefit to do that, which maybe at the time, because that was her way out, right? She was so desperate to get out that it didn't matter. But man, it just like seems like against her character to have made that move, right?
yeah.
So
I mean,
I wasn't really fond of that, but it is what it is.
but it was her way to, like, okay, if I do this, like, yes, her daughter would be the casualty of this, but she will stop this guy from harming other little girls and other people. Uh, and so she's like, she was like the casualty of war type. Uh, so I mean, I see why she kind of did it. I know it goes against her type of character, but he really like messed with her head and her sister. I mean, we see why with her what she thought was family.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then, so I kind of see it, but then finding out that it was all for nothing. So that was like a kick in the, pretty much a kick in the nuts of like, I did something and I didn't even have to, because it didn't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, in that, and it just, again, like, there's no way that the Black Widow that we know in the movies that we've been watching for the last 10 years, right, would have made that move. Right. And so it just kind of seemed like a justification to make a story plot to be the Taskmaster, where they could have a reason to have this villain in here, like, kind of, it seemed like kind of that's why they did it, as opposed to because it made sense for Black Widow. It made sense for their movie. So that was kind of a little bit off for me. Now, that's just one piece of it. Like, overall, I thought the movie was great. Like, I thought it was great. It was an origin story in a lot of ways without having to be a pure origin story, because it completely, you find out everything about where she came from, how she was developed into what she is, and what that she did have a good heart even as a kid, right? Trying to save what she saw as her sister, right? Like, and things like that.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
So I feel like this movie was their version of the Star Wars' Rogue One. Like kind of like fill in a gap.
Kinda, yeah.
Do you feel like there could have been another story out there that they could have explored? Because they said that this took place just before
Is right after
just
Civil
after
War.
Civil War, yeah.
And
So do you
before
feel like
Infinity War.
right? So that was like about a 2-year gap, right, in the story,
Yeah, and
chronologically
in the
speaking.
meantime, so like she needs to go basically save her fellow Avengers that are imprisoned, right, after the end of
Right.
this movie, right?
So do you feel, because okay, now that you said that, so you saw, at the end of Civil War when they were in prison, uh you saw Captain America, Chris Evans,
Right.
but you didn't see her, you know?
Right.
So
That's something that I also caught on to, but I think maybe she was with him because
uh,
because she had the Quinjet and she went to go pick up Captain America. He was on the run. So I think she went after him and then they went and together probably infiltrated the base and freed their teammates.
now, do you think that they could have done another one of the Avengers stories in those 2 years, in that gap, between?
They could have, yeah.
I mean, do you think they could have done a Captain America?
That would be
Because
interesting because of the next time we see Cap and we see Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, and we see Hawkeye and stuff. They all show up together to try and save Wanda and Vision, right, from Thanos's goons, right? So that's the next time we see them after the events of Civil War. So there is more stories that could be told, right? And that that version of Captain America is he's a badass because he's kind of like on his own, no rules. He's not fighting for anybody, right? He's got the black outfit, right? He's kind of sick. He's got the goatee. He's like, I really like that portrayal. So I would love to see that. I think there's room.
Good. I don't know. The movie was like you said, the movie was pretty good. It wasn't. It was like I said, it was hard to try to. Kids, they had a point A to point B types of scenario of telling the story because they couldn't go wherever they wanted, like with any other Marvel movie. But it's cool how and if this was going to be released when it was originally put out there, that end credit was the first thing we saw before Falcon Winter Soldier. This Falcon Winter Soldier was supposed to be after the Black Widow movie, but the Black Widow movie got delayed and got pushed past it. So we got what we saw. So
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so we saw what the events like her getting her sister to find Hawkeye because under false pretenses of Hawkeye killed her Natasha, which wasn't the case, but to recruit her and then what we saw in Falcon Winter Soldier, and then how she came about during those episodes, and so it was kind of like, so you're like, oh, who the hell is this person? But then now it kind of makes sense. We would have known who the person was because we would have gotten the end credit first, and then kind of setting up, what that was. So it was kind of backwards how they went about it, but they didn't change it. They said they're just going to keep it the same.
Yeah, because we still don't know who the hell she is. We just know her name and Falcon Winter Soldier. They actually went more into she had more scenes in Falcon Winter Soldier, trying to explain who she is than she did in this.
But then we're still like, who the hell is this person?
Yeah.
But this would have been like, oh, okay, now she's back. Okay, this is how she's being portrayed in the MCU.
Yeah.
So it would have made a little bit more sense,
right.
That's what we got.
There's an internet news site called, I don't know if you've ever heard of WeGotThisCovered.com. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but
no.
This was 4 days ago. If you want to read it, I just Googled Chris Evans Captain America movie, and it said that there's a rumor that Chris Evans and Anthony Mackie's Captain Americas will face off in Secret Wars rumor. So if you wanna read that, since you brought that up,
There
I
we
thought
go.
it was pretty interesting. I thought it was pretty interesting that.
And that's crazy. I just mentioned earlier, I was like, I think they're going to talk about Secret. I think this is going to be Secret Wars, And here you're saying that possibly it could be Secret Wars.
Yeah, if you want to read it, it's they're called WeGotThisCovered.com. So if you want to if you want to read it and see if there's any like, if they do, I mean, from what I see, they kind of put pieces together and stuff like that. It looks like a speculation piece, but I mean, it looks pretty well thought out. If you want to give it a read.
Fun speculation, yeah.
Fun speculation, man.
How's it going, Tony Grasso? How you doing? Hey, and don't give Pong Soul too many compliments, man. He's already got a big ego, you know. We don't need that. shout out to Pong. Yeah, why is it so
Pong
secret?
Soul doing here? He's too big for us now. He's on the big podcasts.
Yeah, he's on the big shows. Man, it's just like overall though, like you guys, Black Widow is just. I just like how it was an origin movie without having to be like this typical origin movie, right? Because we always see that, and it's hard to make that when like you're so familiar with the character already. You know what I mean? We already know a lot, so it kind of put her in this situation where if you watch Civil War, when she leaves Tony Stark on that balcony at the Avengers base, and then she goes and just leaves because she's not taking part in it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like we haven't heard from her again until we see her in Infinity War, right? And then she ended up, we know what happened in Endgame, right? So with all of those things, she didn't really get that time, right? So this was giving her that time in between, and then also telling that backstory. So that served two purposes. What I'm wondering is Scarlett Johansson done with the MCU?
I think MCU is done with
most likely.
I think they're done with her, with her story pretty much, because we saw in what it was Infinity Wars where she died when they got the Soul Stone, and but this is also setting up her sister being the new Black Widow, and taking over that mantle. When I guarantee she's gonna go find Hawkeye, and he's gonna, he's probably gonna somehow talk to her and be like, "Listen, I didn't freaking kill your sister. I try to give myself up for the Soul Stone." But this is what happened.
It'll probably happen at the end when she has that clarification after she's already killed him and he's on his last breath, and that's when Haley Steinfeld will become the next Hawkeye. Just a theory.
Is there? I was gonna say another Hawkeye in training, because they got this youth movement going on in the MCU now.
It's Haley Steinfeld is gonna be the new Hawkeye.
Yeah. But that brings up Young Avengers.
It's funny you're saying Steinfeld, and I'm thinking of Seinfeld because of Elaine. It's just kind of throwing me off, man.
What's up with airline peanuts?
So we have Hawkeye coming, right? Elaine is going to be a part of that, but with these potential shorter type contracts and stuff, I think. With also like what you're saying, like potentially seeing Steve Rogers show back up again, right? Maybe there's going to be a way for them to make appearances from these characters again. I know Black Widow is in the timeline dead, right? She gave herself up for the the Soul Stone, right? So I know that. But if Gamora, I stand by this, if Gamora is back, then so can too Black Widow.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the multiverse and all these branches popping up, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, the only issue with that is that, are they going to get the right Black Widow that was a part of the Avengers and knows all this, or is she still a secret agent that's still under the mind control and is not a good.
Well, I think it just depends on what
Not a good
time you're
guy.
going to, because when the reason we got this Gamora now is because of the time that they jumped into. Like the Avengers know how to time travel now. All they need is the Pym particles and the van.
Yeah,
right.
but
So they can do it using the quantum realm, and they can go
Yeah.
back and get Black Widow and bring her in, because if Gamora stands here today,
Yeah,
then so
but
can too Black Widow.
But like I said, if she doesn't get, if she's still under mind control, then
Right. So
the
they would
events
just make
it
sure they
will
go
be different.
after she's out of the mind control, because they can pick the point in time
That's
they
if-
jump into.
Yeah, but that's if this whatever version they choose does that. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying. But like the way I think
One-
it was working, I don't think they were going between multiverses in the quantum realm. I think they were going back in time in the same timeline. So I think that was the same timeline. It was time jumping, but it wasn't going into completely different like realities, right? Where there's different versions of the same character.
Yeah.
Where there would
Well,
be like
that's-
more than one Thanos, or would there be more than one Captain America, more than one all of this. I think it's just going back in time and then coming back to the future in the same with the same
Well,
characters.
I think that's where it kind of gets muddied because because Thanos is dead in this current timeline, and Gamora is dead, and when they went back, they really didn't talk about they thought that it was that timeline, so it could be like I have to rewatch that movie and see if we find something a little bit different that's a little off, that we never really thought about it because we didn't think it and we didn't have the mindset. Could this be an ultimate timeline? We always assumed that it was just in the past timeline.
Right. I think they did kind of talk about it. I watched the movies recently because I rewatched all these movies pretty recently, and it was Tony Stark is the one that finally figured it out, right? And he was very specific about the way everything had to be handled. They had to go back and place the stones back in place and all these kind of things. And that's why Loki was the variant, because he was the one where the stone ended up not getting put back where it was supposed to be, right? And Black Widow or none of those other people were variants, right? So they did not leave the same timeline, right? Even Gamora is not a variant, right? So if Gamora is not a variant, Thanos wasn't a variant, and then it means that they were supposed to be in that timeline. So it's probably all in that same timeline, because that was all orchestrated by Kang, or that version of Kang. So it's kind of like if we piece it together, like everything that happened was supposed to happen. So it all fit within that only one timeline, right?
Yeah, I feel like in these next phases to come, the movies that have been announced, anything with time in the title is probably going to be important.
Yeah.
I feel like the new the new characters are going to have their kind of like get to know you movies, like
oh yeah,
Hi,
like
my name
Shang-Chi
is-
is going to be that for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Doctor Strange and even the Ant-Man movies can probably take on a more serious tone. And that's how I feel about with the quantum. What was the title again?
Quantum
Psychonauts?
Mania.
Quantum Mania. And actually, it comes out February 17th of 2023.
Okay, and is Strange before or after that?
Strange is 2022. That comes out March, I believe March something of 2022. So we're getting that pretty much after Spider-Man, which is tied in with WandaVision and Doctor
Right.
Strange too. So it's tied in, and we don't get it that much longer after the fact. So it picks up. So it's not too far away. We're at the mid July, so
Yeah.
it's 9 months till that. of those events, and we still have these movies and shows that are going to be coming out, which are especially with Spider-Man's going to tie into this multiverse a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we'll see what actually happens from there on.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's like I said, man. I told you, Mav. It's this time travel stuff. It's the easiest
Yeah.
way to make stories go on forever. So I mean, uh, definitely, definitely an exciting time for them. I just wish DC would take a page from them. Although they're just, got a section of their movies stuck in the '80s right now.
Hmm.
Robert Pat, the Batman coming out. It's just that's funny.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
I just
am,
saw I
man.
just saw
Ugh,
I
the
just saw a
trailer.
news clip saying Warner Brothers thinks that Robert Pattinson's the best Batman since Keaton.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Like people think of Robert Pattinson as they just like see Robert Pattinson and think Twilight. They think Edward. You know what I mean? And they are discounting other awesome stuff that he was in. Like he's not just Edward from Twilight. He's an actor, right? He's an actual actor that does it. Can play more than just one character. Like if you see like Lost City of Z on Amazon Prime, really really good movie. He's in that. Completely different kind of character. All way different than Edward, right? Oh, and there's other movies out there too. He did one of those movies. God, I can't remember the name of it, but it was by the same guys that did the Adam Sandler movie with the Diamond Uncut Gems. The same guys that did Uncut Gems did a movie with Robert Pattinson, and that one supposedly did really well also, and that one actually came out first. But this guy, I mean, he's a good actor. I understand that people see him and they think Edward and stuff, and they think it's going to be like very emo and stuff. And if you watch the trailer,
goth.
if you watch the
goth.
trailer, you can see some vibes of that. But if you also watch the trailer and look at the way they're portraying, like the moments when he's like fighting, right, and like he's like, I'm vengeance, and he's
no music, it's just that moment where you're just hearing the hits land. I mean, that's when it's an intense moment.
Yeah.
When they don't put music in it, you're just like, okay.
Right. The Nirvana song, it didn't bother me. I thought it set it up. The Riddler. I mean, come on. Like my favorite Batman villain has always been the Riddler, and it looks like he's the main villain in this movie. Finally, getting his time to shine. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Long overdue.
Yes. Way long overdue. This is the only freaking Riddler we really had, other than the TV shows back in the 60s, was Jim Carrey's Riddler, which was a freaking goofball, which is, I mean,
the whole movie was a goofy ass movie though, right? Like, so
yeah. I mean, they try to go comic booky.
Yeah, the director. I mean, wasn't that still Tim Burton?
No, not for. I don't think it was Tim Burton for that one. It was the first three, Tim Burton.
Which one was that? Was that Batman and Robin, or was it Batman Forever?
For what?
The Riddler one.
The Batman Forever.
Batman Forever.
Yeah. Even those movies, I enjoyed watching them. Right, like those movies were still fun to watch. Right, like when I was a kid and stuff. Or I don't even know how old I was, but Jim Carrey did a good job with what they asked him to do. Right. But like I have high hopes for the Batman movie. It just seems
I don't know if
we get the Bat cycle, guys.
Yeah. I don't know if you so Colin Farrell is going to be Penguin.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Danny DeVito, to me, to this day, is the best Penguin.
Oh yeah, yeah. I loved him in that.
He was perfect. Perfect.
Andy Serkis is gonna play Alfred.
Yeah.
Call him. And then Paul Dano is gonna be the Riddler. Let's see.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, Paul
Well, he looks
Dano is
like he's
awesome,
10.
dude. Yeah, he's
He's actually my age.
there's a movie about um
Oh, he was in The Girl Next Door.
yeah, there's a movie about the guy fuck, I forget his name, from the Beach Boys. John Cusack plays the older version of him, and Paul Dano plays the younger version. And he just is like, he's really good. Really good actor. He's some other good stuff too. But he's one of those guys that's like known for his acting talent is why he's getting gigs, right? Not because of anything else. So
So I just read Pong Soul's fucking message.
yeah. Hey, dude, ease off. Ease off, Pong.
Oh,
Solo is a ton of fun. If you go into it with an open mind and an open heart, you can enjoy that movie. It is good for a movie.
Hey, it's nostalgia, man. All right.
Solo. Let's
Yeah.
go. I'm gonna get shit on forever for my comments on Solo. It's
Yeah.
okay though. I knew it was gonna happen. I did it willingly.
I don't think Solo is like, a world beater, but it's like a fun movie for them to try to, kind of show you what
All right.
another story of Solo, since he's such a fan favorite.
Yeah, no, but I like Rogue One over Solo.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I mean,
Uh, oh yeah.
no,
Rogue One.
now Rogue One had great elements in that movie. It had especially the blind I guess
Oh
monk.
yeah.
He wasn't really a Jedi. We thought he was gonna be a Jedi. Like he was
Like
secretly
his faith has given him. His faith
Yeah.
has rewarded him.
yeah,
But
but
Mads Mikkelsen too, man. I like Mads Mikkelsen as an actor. He was in Doctor Strange, the first one. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's an amazing actor. Yeah, he was in Death Stranding.
Hey, you remember
Yeah.
in Doctor Strange I forget the name of the actor, but the guy that was like kind of the partner of Doctor Strange for a long time. And at the end, he's like he goes bad, right?
Oh yeah, that's Cheatway.
Oh.
Yeah,
View
yeah, that guy.
I love him.
I
man.
love
He's an
love him
amazing
too. But man, it seems like forever since that was set up, and we haven't gotten any kind of payoff on it yet, right? Is that going to be what kicks off the events of the next Doctor Strange? Is something to do with him? Because that guy's got a lot of capabilities, right? I mean, he's up there with his abilities with the art, with the sorcery shit.
Yeah. No, I wonder if the other monks that were in there, they try to resurrect Dormammu. Is he going to try to bring forth Mephisto? Possibly bring up timelines like that, or King, having him possibly come into forth. And
Is he going to be the next member to join Elaine's group of anti-heroes as the anti-Doctor Strange, right?
yeah, because he went and took that guy's powers, because there were other people that were there, and that's why he left, and he was going to go and take their powers away, strip them from them, and who's his next victim, and what is it going to be? Was it what's this story going to lead into? What's going to develop into with how? Especially after the events we saw with with Loki, like how is this gonna tie in? Like, is it like, did they put that on the back burner and let that just make you forget about it, and until the right moment to bring him back? We'll see.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Man, a Black Widow and Loki. Marvel absolutely killed it the past week. with coming in it strong with stories and characters, introducing new characters, introducing new things. It makes me even more excited to see what's next. And what's next is What If, which
Now,
cool.
before we get into that though, did you watch it on Disney Plus or did you go to the theater?
Peter.
I went to a theater and I got it all to myself. I was the only person in there.
And how much was it just you, or was it you and Kaitlin, or you and family?
I went by myself to see that. And it was $11 because I went to like more of the luxury like theater, which was like a smaller theater, but it was like more cozy. But then when I got in there, I realized that I hope nobody else bought a seat because I'm sitting in a love seat and there's an open spot next to me. And I was like really hoping some like creepy guy didn't walk in and just sit right next to me. You know what I mean? Because I'm in there by myself. But yeah,
What if
it was
Scarlett
$11.
Johansson? What happens if Scarlett Johansson came in and sat next to you?
Hey,
Like, is this a fan party or something? Like, why are you here? Like, say what's going on? Like, there's nobody else here. You know, I don't
Don't wait
know.
for Kaitlin to pop in the chat. Like, what?
Yeah.
What's up with this?
I'd be like, oh,
'cause,
you were replaced. How's Florence doing?
because I was like, you said, before the podcast, you're like, have you seen Loki or Black Widow yet? And I was like, I can. And like I finished Loki and I had still had like, 3.5 hours till the podcast, and I was looking on Disney Plus and I'm like, $30.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
that's
lot.
why I didn't do it. I spent $6.25 on my ticket. So
I looked up my nearest theater and it was $8.95, and I'm like, if I didn't want to eat anything, like $8.95 or $30, I mean, come on.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, so also last week, me and my wife and daughter went to see Peter Rabbit 2. Which, hey guys, that movie is freaking good. I'm sorry, it is. There's like, it's funny. Peter Rabbit 2 is no joke. But like that cost us like $40 for 3 tickets, plus we got like $40 in popcorn and candy, right? So like, if you're going with multiple people, right, or you have a group, $30 is way easier to spend, right?
Right.
So that's where they're going with that, I think. But like the if you're going planning on just watching it by yourself, just go to the theater. You can even buy out 3 seats if you wanted to, like, and pay less. So that way you don't have to sit next to anybody if you're worried about anything, right? Like, you could buy 3 seats and spend less than $30, and you get a better experience too watching it. You know.
yeah.
Like they labeled it Premier Access. It's like
I'll say this too, though. Like, out of all the movies, like, this is like, except for the ending, there's like less necessity to see this one at the big screen, right? Because it's more story focused and less like crazy stuff, you know.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of high action, but like when I went to my theater was pretty packed, and I had a young lady. She was probably like maybe late 20s, early 30s, but she was like literally sitting next to me. So like, and like, but like, no, like there was like 4 seats next to her that were empty, and then I had 5 rows next to me that were empty, and I was just like, okay, this is just weird, because I sat down first and then she came. I'm like, okay. It was just odd that I just thought it was social distancing, they would have, if they had individual seats, that they would have like maybe a seat in between, but now it feels like they're just gonna pack the theater, and just like how like nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
So here's my mindset. Is there another Marvel movie coming out before October?
Yeah, September, that would be that would be
Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi. That's September
Okay.
or something.
So like, I'm not familiar with Shang-Chi. So like the thing is that like the Disney Premier Access, right? They even put like you can watch it and stream it until October or something when it gets put in the vault or when it gets put on the on Disney Plus, and it's like, well, you kind of just gave away your posting date. So like for $30 I can wait and still be able to see chronologically, because if it's only been in the theaters for about a month, if you're going to put Shang-Chi in the theaters, I can wait a month to watch Black Widow and then go to the theater for $8.95 and I'll be fine, I mean, it's
Yeah.
Yeah.
and this is the wrong move. Like, they should prorate these things, because this is like the wrong movie to spend $30 on, and I hate to say it like
Oh yeah.
that, but like,
No.
yeah, it's just, if it was like Avengers 3 and it had like and it had like all the big names on it, I'd be like, I might have to. So, but
Yeah.
I mean, with this being more of like a feature piece and kind of like backstory of her, it's just like, it's not worth it. Disney
Yeah.
Plus, sorry.
Yeah. Now, like for me, it's just me by myself. So I didn't. That's why I was like, I'll just go to the theater. I can't justify $30 for to watch a movie, any movies on Disney Plus for $30. Now, if I like with Mav, that's different because it's him, his wife, and his daughter. Well, three people, three movie tickets. That's $30 right there, and that's before getting popcorn and something to drink and candy and whatever snacks. So for
Right.
him, it's beneficial to just rent it at home if everybody wants to go see it. For me, it's the opposite. I can't justify just dropping $30 on a single movie for just watching it by myself. I'll go to a theater at a time where I know that it's not gonna. I thought when I went it wasn't gonna be packed, but I was wrong. I guess that's everyone else's thoughts too. So, we'll go at an earlier time and not be so packed.
Yeah, I went
What state are you in?
earlier in the day. That's like why it was empty, I think, which is weird though, because like I was trying to pick a time to go, and I looked at the earlier times, and there were people kind of littered in the seats because it's all reserved seating, right? And when I looked at the theater at the later time, which I mean, still in the afternoon, like I think I went at like 3:30. And there was nobody that had bought a ticket yet. So I bought a ticket, and nobody was there. I was shocked, absolutely shocked. But hey, it worked. It worked out. I guess maybe it's because I accidentally got a ticket in the date theater, and people aren't going on dates in the middle of the week at 3:30. I don't know. But
Well, yeah, just to compare, like, I have Paramount Plus as well, and they just put Quiet Place 2 in there free of charge.
yeah,
Like, included with your subscription, obviously. But like, for a movie that's still in theaters and a pretty, anticipated one as well, if you've ever seen A Quiet Place, The Quiet Place 2 was, pretty pretty well advertised. So for them to put it in there, you know, like a surprise. It was like a surprise drop. I was looking for A Quiet Place and I saw both of them. I'm like, what?
yeah.
Because I
We
wanted to
just saw we
rewatch A
just saw
Quiet
that
Place
the other day
before
too. I was surprised.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, it's just, it's kind of a difference of uh economics, I guess. But I mean, they should prorate these movies, you know, for better access to seeing them.
Yeah.
But to each his own.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get. Um, I don't know if they're gonna be releasing any more this way. I think this may have been the last Marvel one they're doing that way. I'm not 100% on that, but
Okay.
the next movie we're getting will be Shang-Chi from the MCU. And here's one thing: if you're concerned about seeing this like ahead of time or whatever, there's like this movie, because it's kind of out of time, right? With the releases, like this is really like a phase 3 movie, right? Like early phase 3, I guess. Like, this one is kind of, there's only really 3 main takeaways from this if you are worried about future implications, okay? Or I'll say 4. There's 4 main takeaways. Number 1 is Yelena exists, right? So Yelena could be the replacement Black Widow, which we already know that she is, right? Going to be. 2 would be that Taskmaster exists in whatever form that takes in the future, right? Still there, right? 3 would be the fact that there are other potential people throughout the world, right? And 4, I guess, is the end credit scene, right? With Elaine. So that's all really the main takeaways, like as far as potential future impact. Otherwise, everything else is just telling a story about Black Widow and her background and where she came from and getting reacclimated to some of those people and solving a problem, right? So definitely, it's very enjoyable. If you go into it expecting it not to like be a huge superhero movie, this is a Black Widow movie, right? For me, it was exactly what I expected, and that was good. So I love the story that they told. David Harbour, I thought was great. I thought that Rachel Weisz was really good in it. And Florence Pugh actually stole the show, I think. Super funny in it as well. So great. Another great Marvel movie for me personally. I know there's some people disappointed in it, but I think it was a story worth being told. And excited about the future of it. And Loki was just fucking amazing.
Yeah, hands down was really freaking good.
That's going on slow mo.
One of their better TV series that I saw with an arc and setting up the next villain. So like it really was really good. It set up the MCU for an interesting place, and where they're going to take it and how they're going to tell the story is going to be fun to watch and see how they go about it. So I can't wait. Where Shang-Chi, where that blends into the MCU now, and because they in the last set of phases, Legend of the Ten Rings was all hinted at throughout the entire 3 phases with different movies. So where are they going to set this up? And then Spider-Man, where that's going to tie in, because I believe this is the last Spider-Man movie that MCU is able to do. I believe they did a 3-picture part.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
This is what is it? How do they do it? Homecoming, Far From Home, and then it's gonna be like Away From Home or something.
No Way Home.
Titles. What is it?
No Way Home.
Yeah, so I mean that's the third one.
I remember the whole thing with Tom Holland's contract being done, and he wasn't going to get to be Spider-Man anymore, and the whole internet kind of like uproared and stuff, and Tom Holland put stuff on there and everything because Sony and Disney couldn't come to terms on an agreement, right? There was like negotiating things there, and then they got it rectified, right? And I don't know what the terms were of that new thing. So, as you guys are saying though, I was Googling it to look it up. It says it may be his last film, and it is up after the upcoming installment. We haven't got long filming now, and it's quite sad because this is the end of my contract after this film is up. But man, I hope not, dude, because I don't feel like I feel like we got some cool Spider-Man movies with this, some really good ones, and he was part of the whole saga and stuff. But I was really I think there's so much room for this character to grow as the Spider-Man and do more, right? With his movies, that would be sad.
So you're kind of echoing, like fan response is that, I think a lot of people are tired of, I know I am, of all these actors portraying one character, the same, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just feels like when you find a right guy for a part, and then all of a sudden you just switch after, if they want to stay the part, there should be some sort of agreement, or at least work something out to keep it going, because obviously the fans respond to that actor. Personally, I think Spider-Man is good as a standalone movie. I don't think I didn't really like him in the Avengers stuff. I thought he was kind of like a third wheel. Kind of just didn't. To me, it just didn't fit well. He's, especially with the past Spider-Man movies, like him. It's always been feature films with him, not really part of an ensemble. Maybe they did that because he was, as he was portrayed, he was a young kid. So, but I think they should get as much as I am not, and I'm not a big Spider-Man fan. Like, I think he's 5 on my list of and again, I'm more of a DC guy, so I have more DC characters would love to see get movies and or watch ones that are having movies than Spider-Man. So I mean, it's just I think he Sony and Marvel should all be able to get together and work this out, because I think another character change would just make me feel like it's just getting because with every character change they redo the story. They just, for some reason, they just have to redo the story. So I mean,
that's Sony.
Tobey Maguire was the, I guess you could say, the OG. So you got those three, but then you come back with Andrew Garfield and kind of do the same thing, and then you're doing the same thing now with Tom Holland. So it's just it starts to feel like a cash grab when you keep recycling these stories. Andrew Garfield is kind of understandable.
Yeah.
But I mean, I felt like the villains in Andrew Garfield's Spider-Mans were better than him. Like, I loved Reese Ifans as forgive me, he was the lizard. What was his name?
Oh,
He was a scientist that became
Lizard Man. I think
was it just Lizard Man?
I
Okay.
think that's what it is. I think that's what it is, Lizard Man.
But I think he was a better. I liked him better than Andrew Garfield in that one. So I mean, they need to. I mean, heck, Sony recreated their Peter Parker in their 2018 video game to look more like him. I mean, if you do that, it's like, what was the point? If he doesn't get any extensions.
Well, and that's the thing with Sony. Like, Marvel didn't step in till after the Andrew Garfield. Like, listen, because they were gonna come in and with a different Spider-Man. This is the third person playing that you guys are doing. This is the third person playing the same character. We need some cohesiveness, and then that's why they stepped in and they did what they did with, tying in Tom Holland with Avengers and Endgames and so on,
Yeah.
so Civil War and things like that. So at least there was some consistency before Sony goes in and changes them again. When like that's why I said, like, after this movie deal, I didn't hear anything else with Marvel and Sony teaming up. So what is Sony going to do after that? Because I know they got they're trying to do the Sinister Six style movies. So I don't know who's going to play Spider-Man. They're trying to deal with this whole Venom thing, and it's just like they're not doing well storytelling with Spider-Man personally, until Marvel stepped in, and with at least Tom Holland, they did a better job. He was a better Peter Parker Spider-Man combo, just like Andrew Garfield was a better Spider-Man than a Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And Tobey Maguire, he was okay, but we won't go into that.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, but that's just those are my opinions.
But Marvel used Spider-Man like they did with Hulk, because
Well, they don't have
Hulk
the full
was-
rights either, right? So it's
right,
kinda-
Hulk was Universal, so the loophole was that he couldn't have his own
Yeah.
feature film. He had to be a part of ensemble, which
Yeah.
is probably one of the main agreements between Sony and Disney, was that,
Mhm.
hey, you know,
well,
we
in
want
the
him for the
because
ensemble, but Sony will do the features.
right, and I mean the thing that's interesting though here is, like, if you go and look at, I was just looking at comments back from Kevin Feige. I found this article is like, this was actually written today. This article was written today. This is on Digital Spy, and it was about comments from Kevin Feige back in 2019. He said, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has discussed Tom Holland's return to the MCU as Spider-Man. So this was like after the contract got worked out, right? They said that in 2019, intercompany politics between Sony and Marvel temporarily resulted in Spidey swinging out of the MCU, despite him being one of the most beloved aspects of the recent movies. Reflecting on that difficult time, Feige got chatting to Rotten Tomatoes this week. So this week, Feige was chatting to Rotten Tomatoes, and he says there was a time when it looked like Marvel Studios would not be involved in Spider-Man movies going forward for Sony. He began, "It was only a few months, but it was an emotional few months for, I think, all of us on all sides, and a very public few months for whatever reason." That's the time I was referring to, right? He says, "I always want to look at the bright side, and the bright side was we got to make two great Spider-Man movies, Homecoming and Far From Home, with Amy Pascal and John Watts, Tom Rothman and Tom Holland. And I was very proud of that and very happy with that. Of course, I wanted it to continue." The studio head explained how the powers that be all eventually agreed on bringing Spidey back due to their love of the character. So luckily, Tim Rothman and then Disney CEO Bob Iger and Disney Studios chairman Alan Horn and Alan Bergman and Tom Holland himself all realized, wouldn't it just be more fun if we just kept doing it? Let's not get business or politics in the way, right? He says, because the deal always started with Amy Pascal and I have nothing to do with numbers or contracts or politics, Feige said. So I guess Amy Pascal and Feige got together and was like, let's just do this because it'd be awesome, right? And that's kind of how like Spider-Man coming into the MCU was born. It had to do with story and a love of Spider-Man and Peter Parker and the Marvel Universe. It thankfully has continued like that, and that's where we find ourselves now. So that's the interesting thing. That's where we find ourselves now. So just because a contract could be potentially ending doesn't mean that's necessarily the end, right? If everything works out and if he wants to keep doing it, they could potentially find ways to make these things work in the future. Just like potentially they may be doing different type of contracts in the future with all of their actors. So I don't think it's necessarily done. I'm just holding out hope because those comments were interesting because he says that's where we find themselves now, right? So I'm hoping that means there's a glimmer of hope for that. I know there's people out there that prefer Toby, right? Toby was a great Spider-Man. I see you, chat, right? I agree. Toby was a great Spider-Man, but Toby is not going to be the future Spider-Man, right? Those days have gone. That Toby is no longer going to be the Spider-Man. So for me, like,
his expiration date.
Tom Holland is like really good Spider-Man. He's personally my favorite. If Tobey was the Spider-Man, I would not be disappointed, but not Tobey Maguire of today. It would have to be Tobey Maguire of when those Spider-Man movies came out, right?
At least 10 years ago.
I can't think of another actor right now better to portray Peter Parker and Spider-Man than Tom Holland. The other reason why is because they did start him out young. But that also gives room to grow in the future. Like, he can grow up and you can have a long time with a character on screen playing the same character for a long time. Kind of like we saw Hugh Jackman as Wolverine go from the X-Men all the way into Logan, right? Like, just an amazing journey with the character. So,
and I'm tired of recycling origin stories. Stop it.
Yeah, like, you can't. How many times can we see the same origin story? Like, in fact, this one hasn't even gotten one.
Well,
you know,
technically there was no Uncle Ben, so that's why. I mean, that's why I think it was a better fit, because we got reset with Toby. Well, we had, and then a reset with Andrew Garfield, but we didn't get a reset with Tom Holland. We kind of got
we didn't, because I mean, they just gave him an ant, a hot ant. Go figure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, he still went through everything.
You know? Yes, right. But it didn't portray it on the screen as the others.
Right. But I mean, he still went through, and you know, it's like, you know, he did and he didn't. So I mean, that's up for interpretation.
I forget in Homecoming, was Homecoming was before or after Civil War?
Before.
Was it?
What, Homecoming was before?
Before Civil War.
Homecoming was before, because he had the movie, and then
I forget everything that happened in Homecoming, to be honest with you.
He had the movie, and then Tony Stark in Civil War met him, and he's like, "Is this you?" with all the videos and stuff.
Yeah, Homecoming. Because what was
Homecoming is when he saved.
It was not Vulture.
Homecoming was Vulture.
Was it Vulture?
Yeah, because there was a Vulture and Mysterio.
Oh, that's right. No, that was the second one.
Yeah, Mysterio was the second one. Vulture was the first one.
Okay, then that's what it was. So.
Yeah, but see, in that he already knew Iron Man. Remember, like in Homecoming, he already knew Iron Man.
And Homecoming was after.
So Avengers was 2016. Homecoming was 2017.
So it was after. Okay.
Yeah, Civil War, right? Yeah, so like our introduction to Tom Holland, he was already Spider-Man in Civil War, right? Wasn't that where we saw him for the first time with Civil War? I can't remember. Okay, yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming was after Civil War. He come home from the war. So we never saw, like, because I'm trying to remember the events of Homecoming, and did we see the spider bite and stuff? I mean, did we see all that happen, or was he just Spider-Man already? Like, I think he was already just Spider-Man. I can't remember.
Yeah, no, we did not see a spider bite, all that. So this was like picked up after those events.
Right.
Because we didn't see him getting bit by the spider, and then he started getting powers. We got
you know, I'm gonna rewatch it and get back to you.
I need to rewatch because they're not on Disney Plus. The Spider-Man movies, not yet.
Yeah, they're not. They're Sony.
I think they are. Didn't they make a deal?
The first one is on Amazon Prime.
Okay. I think I bought it. Yeah, I think I bought it digitally. So
I actually own it, It's just when I'm going through the list on Disney, I just go through the list on Disney Plus, and I've been watching all of them in like timeline order, right?
Yeah, that's
And
kind
the
of a
the
cool
Sony
segment that they put it in.
Spider-Man movies aren't there.
I really don't. I
All
don't
right,
remember.
chat. Well, we've talked a lot. You guys are awesome. Yeah. So KhAos confirms for me 100%. There was no origin story, no spider bite. Into the Spider-Verse you did for Miles, but not Tom Holland's Peter Parker. Yeah. And by the way, also Into the Spider-Verse was amazing, right? They did a great job with that. I also like Venom, but it's just not. It's weird that it's not really part of the Spider-Man universe. Like it just like doesn't fit for me. Like in a weird way. Like where's Spider-Man? You got.
I think it's going to lead to that point,
Oh, I
possibly,
don't know. I hope so.
with the
Like,
new
they
Spider-Man.
didn't even
I think
acknowledge the
that's
existence of Spider-Man. You know, it's like
no,
Like,
because
go
this
ahead.
was the beginning of with Venom's. But I mean, technically, with the whole freaking Venom thing, Peter Parker got he had the symbiont and had the black suit, and then he you know, at least in the comics, you know, was in the church tower and rang the bell, so and the suit came off of him, and Eddie
Yeah.
Brock was there at the right moment, and then he is now become then he became Venom.
I just
So
hope they don't bring Topher Grace back for that one.
yeah. Yeah,
I like
that's
it
what I
here.
thought I remembered Jasper. Yeah, it's just sometimes my memory fails me. I remember there was a lot of stuff in this high school, and that's what was like tricking me. I would love to see if they did if they did do anything different, right, in the future. I would love to see like the whole Miles Morales story. It's not necessarily copying Into the Spider-Verse, but something very similar done with like live action. If this was the end of the era of Spider-Man in the MCU, right? But I really hope it's not, because Spider-Man was kind of like the number one Marvel character, right? Before this whole MCU thing started. and and it's just weird to have off isolated into another
It's really the only
realm.
marketed one, really. I mean,
Yeah.
when it came to movies.
Yep. But guys, it's been awesome chat. You rock. Midway, thank you for being here. Tell everybody
yeah.
where they can find you, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was a fun talk. I like talking about this stuff. Um, Midway 8 Monster on Twitter. I'm also on 4GQ TV with Italian Clowns and the wonderful fun speculation, Mr. Mav over here. Uh, we are on Thursdays at, was it 6:30 Eastern, correct? I think it's 5:30
Yes,
Central my
six
time.
6:30
So
Eastern.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, guys, come on out. We've and check the channel as well. We've had some fun interviews, had some good talks, good shows. Some with a little fire in it, but but yeah, everything's good, great time, and glad to see the channel's grown pretty good in the last 6 months since we've been on it, Mav. So I'm sure uh exciting times, and I looked at your channel, Mav. You're growing steadily. It's fun and exciting to see someone start out the way you did, and I think I was like one of your first 50 subs, I
Oh yeah,
think.
really cool, man.
So
Yeah, almost a year.
yeah,
It's about to be our year anniversary.
yeah. I mean, guys, just look when he streams. He streams day, he streams night, he streams at 4 in the morning, he streams at 11. He streams when you're getting your breakfast. This guy, he's passionate about gaming, guys, and he's really fun to talk with, and he definitely recognizes you guys in the chat. So uh, subscribe to him, give him a like on his channel, help him out uh, in that small way. It'll mean a lot to him, and definitely me as a friend. So I really hope he's on his way. He's on his way to that 5G you know, and then
Thanks,
we'll
bro.
start there, and then baby steps. Psychonauts, always a fun time talking with you on this stuff. We will talk again soon.
Oh yeah, brother.
And speaking of Psychonauts, mellow fellow from outer space. where can everybody find your awesome stuff?
Yeah, man. Thanks to the chat for coming out. You guys were fantastic, very knowledgeable in the chat. You guys are awesome tonight. Midway, awesome to have you on again. Always a pleasure to have you joining in with us when we're a man down. It's always fun talking anything comics related because it's our passion. So
Appreciate it.
yeah. And everybody, you guys can find me on social media at Psychonauts8 everywhere. I have a YouTube channel, Gamer Chat Podcast, Gamer Chat, one word. I'll get back to streaming probably after I get back from my Florida visit. And then you can find me here every Wednesdays, 10 o'clock, Fridays with the Magnificent Seven, 9 o'clock Eastern on Xbox Ultimate. And it's always a pleasure doing this stuff. It's been great. And Math, where can everybody can find you, my friend?
Hi, everybody. I'm right here. You can find me here all the time, sitting in this chair, talking about whatever.
Eating your cardboard.
Yeah. Eating my animal crackers. No, you can find me on Fun Speculation on Twitter. Just type in @FunSpeculation on Twitter, and that's where you can see all of the channel updates and content, and sometimes my rants and also little jabs at companies here and there. And also check out this podcast and Xbox Ultimate Podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and more. Friday nights is Xbox Ultimate, as always, with the Magnificent Seven, like Psycho said. That is at 9 p.m. Eastern. And the new show that we have coming to you on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern is the one, the only, the Mavin Fancy Show, which we're trying to figure out what the hell it's all going to be. We're going to have fun with it. I can tell you there will be laughter, there will be fun, there will be different kinds of topics. We will talk about gaming, yes. We will probably talk about Real Housewives. I don't know. We'll see what all comes up. I know we'll talk about food. If you guys like some good food talk, you're going to want to tune into the Math and Fancy Show because, hey, one of the most fun things to talk about, as you guys know, is food. And I'm not just talking animal crackers. I'm talking like steak, ribeyes, McDonald's. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, guys, no, we're going to talk about all this fun stuff, dude. It's going to be a blast, guys. Again, that's Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see you there, guys. You have a great one. Take it easy. Love you all. Bye.
Same Mav time, save Mav channel.
FunPop. FunPop. FunPop.